Teaching Hospital. She's a member of the International Eye Research Network, and it is no surprise that she's one of our very senior advisors here in the NISA network. She is a woman who wears many caps and has achieved so much. She has participated twice in the Orbis International DC-10 aircraft flying eye hospital in Ilorin in 2006 and 2011. She's a wonderful teacher. I've had the privilege of sitting under her anonymously. And I must say, she's been a great resource and a great blessing to ophthalmology in Nigeria. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Professor Faye Grace Adepoju. You're welcome, Ma. We're happy to have you.
And let me quickly appreciate the coordinator for this nice group for the great job and all members of the team. So again, my apologies. I got a new laptop and just came in from a trip also, and all of it were just throwing me up. So let me share my slide and then we can start. I want to welcome everyone on board. I've seen great men and women, great researchers, people that probably have done much more better in this regard than myself. So it's going to be a learning time for me too, as well as enjoying the privilege to share a little bit of what I've been privileged to do in line with the topics that have been given. Grantsmanship in research and practice or project. How do we get fund for the things we would like to do? Sorry, I'm still trying to share my slides. I'm wondering where I should get that done here. I'm not so used to Google Meet. I'm used to Zoom most of the time. Is someone helping me, guiding me here? Am I still audible, I hope?
You're still audible.
Okay, thank you.
On your screen, there should be an arrow. If it's a laptop, a
It's
screen
a
with an
laptop.
arrow. Yes, a screen with an arrow at the bottom of the screen. Or an arrow in a box.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so just
I've
click on
seen
that.
Thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we'll talk about grantsmanship for research and practice. And even though I have some slides there, I would really like to talk from my heart, sharing some of the little experience that I probably have. So basically, I would like to look at what a grant is. I'm sure many of us are aware, and then the different types of grants that's available. Then some few steps in grant writing. I like to make it as practical as possible. And then little words on letter of inquiry or concept note, as some of us may call it. And then I'll try and give some general tips, and hopefully we'll have enough time to have question and answer. And as I said, I also want to learn, because in writing grants, I think is a non-ending circle of learning, practice, and putting back what you've learned and getting new experience and so on. So a grant is a sum of money or fund or financial assistance that is given by an entity. It could be a public body, an NGO, it could be a government, it could be a specialized granting making institutions like we have in Tech Fund or NIH, and it could be a national body or global body. But basically there is a group or a body that is poised or placed to give sum of money or financial assistance. And of course, to either an individual or an entity or a group, usually non-profit organizations, but then there are several profit organizations that have access to grants, depending on their proposal and what they aim to do. And usually grants are for specific purpose, often linked to public benefit. So grants are for specific purpose and they are usually linked to a public benefit. So, but there are some other form of financial support that comes in for research or for project or for different kinds of grants that you will see. Money that comes in, for instance, loans. Loans are to be paid back, unlike grants. Maybe paid back with little or no interest, and is usually for also a purpose. Of course, an individual and organizations may have a gift that are not meant to be paid back, and they are often not tied to any particular purpose. Now, grants, I like to emphasize here, are not gifts. They are funds meant for a specific purpose and usually for public benefit, and they have to be accounted for and must be
Sorry, ma.
used.
Sorry, ma.
Yes, sir.
Please, ma. We are not seeing your screen move, ma.
Okay, you're not seeing my screen.
Yes.
Are you seeing it now?
If you can share your entire screen, not just
That's
the
what I'm
PowerPoint.
sharing. Oh, you're not seeing my PowerPoint.
No, we are just seeing the PowerPoint itself, but we are not seeing the presentation
It's
moving.
not on slideshow. It's
Is
not
that
on
on
It's on
slideshow?
slideshow.
slideshow. It's on
Yes.
slideshow.
Yes, ma. If you can stop the slideshow, stop
Okay.
sharing your screen, then share your entire screen so that whatever you are seeing will also be seen with you. Share your whole
Oh,
screen. Yes, ma.
I should stop sharing.
Yes, and then start sharing your whole screen, not just the PowerPoint.
Okay. Lesson number 2, I'm coming. I should share my entire screen.
Yes, ma.
So I've done that now. Are you able to see?
Yes, ma. So you can
Yes,
now
we
go
can
to
see
slideshow, ma.
you.
Okay. So are you seeing now?
It's perfect. Thank
Yes, ma.
All right. Okay. Another apology. Sorry. So I've just spoken about what a grant is, and I'm not going to go back there. We've lost a number of wonderful time. There are different kinds of grants. Today we're focusing on research grants and practice or project grants. But like I showed in the slide before you, we have grant for small businesses, transportation, student or scholarship, uh, grants for disaster reliefs, and a whole lot of other kind of grant. And I love to use this icon that I used there, like a battery that is fully charged, because I like to see grants as a kind of uh, a charging of an individual and organization to do something great and beautiful. So I'm just explaining that small icon that I use. So there are capital grants, technical assistance grant, planning grants, different kinds. But tonight we're going to stay strictly to research or practice grant or project grants. And I recalled a couple of years back that I had a grant raised purposely for an high health educational program or a project, and like I said, grants are not gifts. They are money that have to be accounted for, and you need to demonstrate that you have truly carried out what that funding was meant for. I'll say a bit of that later on. So there are different steps in grant writing, and I do not think we can take a whole lot, everything that is really very part of steps in grant writing. But I'll try and focus on key things, like trying to share practical tips and examples that I'm privileged to know. So the first thing in any grant writing or a project is to first have an idea. There has to be a generated idea. Ideas are what get founded. It could be a research idea, it could be a practice idea, but there is something that is burning in your heart that you want to address. There must be a specific challenge or issues that is facing humanity. So you must have a strong cause, and you need to be able to present that cause for you to be able to have funding. So it could be looked at identifying research or practice problem. Or in another way to look at it, what is it that you are doing that you would like to get charged to scale up or to do more? And I tried explaining that icon at the beginning. So grant writing start with that idea, something novel, something good that you will want to see happening. And you're saying, on my own, with the resources I have, I cannot carry out this assignment or this project or this research. So I'm seeking for an external funding to be able to do that. So before a grant is given, usually there will be a proposal written where the grantor will select a suitable grantee to be able to perform a specific set of activities. And please, before we go on deeply, we need to look at these three key things here: the angle of the grantor, the grantee, and the specific set of activities, be it research or project. So usually the grantor have their own vision and mission. They have what they are passionate about, an area they have identified that is being taken up their considerations, and they are willing to put their fund into it. This is the starting point in any grant writing. You have your own vision, you have your own mission, you have something that is burning in your heart you want to carry out, and you need a funding. The onus is on you as the one writing for a grant to seek for grantors that already have that line of vision or mission or thought. Because the grantor is looking for someone or an organization that can bring out their own purpose, their own vision, their own mission. And like I said, there will be a specific set of activity. So when these three key factors merge and meet nicely, then there is a granting. So key consideration also is the grantee's expertise, and like I said, the grantor's interest. So for all of us writing grants, we also need to, beyond looking at what is it we're passionate about, you also think, what is it that I have the expertise to do? Oftentimes there will be several calls for abstract or calls for grant, either concept note or call for full proposal. You first need to look at what is the grantor's interest, what is their mission and vision, what is it that they are poised to do. Then next you look at what is your own interest and then your expertise. Do you have the expertise to be able to bring this to reality? Once there is a mismatch between your expertise and the subject of interest, you are not likely to receive that funding. In several instances, proposals are solicited. That means the granting body reach out to you in particular and say, Dr. XXX would like you to carry out this project for us or this research. That means they are soliciting. In that way, there's not going to be competition. They have just looked at you and they felt you are the one to do this for us, and then you move on from there. But for most other instances, grants are competitive and they are called for. There's an open call. They send out an open call, and several people who feels that they have the expertise and they also have research ideas or questions they want to answer in line with the interest of the grantor, put up proposal in a competitive manner, and then several people sit down together to look at it. So a lot of work goes into it because, like I said, it is competitive. I recalled 2 years back when I applied for third fund, they wrote back and said, oh, we had over 700 proposals. Of course, we're sorry that yours was not one of them. Sometimes they are not that nice. We get there in some of the rejection sentences, but it's okay. So a lot of work have to go into grant writing. And I recall a few years back when I was sitting and listening to a lecture like this, the teacher said a statement that I began to work and to run with. He said it requires protected time. A set aside time where you can focus, you can have deep thinking, you can work. It's not something you do for 1 minute, you run somewhere else, and in between 1 or 2 things you are trying to put together and you think you're writing a proposal. I'm not trying to scare us, I'm just trying to prepare our mind that it requires a lot of time. In the last couple of days or weeks, for some of us who are following TED Fund, you know, they've been having call for a concept note, a lot of sleepless night, people trying to put up, you know, their concept notes, trying to see if this time around they will be successful. We'll get back to some of the things that time is required to do. So don't forget that protected time. I think it's one thing that have really helped me in the couple of years now that I'm beginning to attract some form of fundable uh, uh, project. So in steps in writing grants, we need to be able to integrate a research question or a practice question in your heart. Or you have a dream to carry out this research, you begin to interrogate that research. You want to find out what is the present level of knowledge about that. Is it worth writing about? Or all the answers have been provided for the question in the line of that research. Last week, I was telling one of our mentors, I said, there was a research proposal I finished writing, very full. And it was about refractive error and this and that, you know. And I thought I could just remove a concept note for it and send for third fund. But I learned of recent that there's a national research, a national grant. It's in line with that. Very minimal difference. That is the beauty of interrogating. So I said, I don't think this is going to fly, because if there's already a national research questions being answered in that direction, why would I want to reinvent the wheel? And when we began to work on some other things, you need to brainstorm with colleagues, mentors, potential team members to try to clarify the research or practice questions. I think the bottom line to me is first to be very sure in your heart, what is it that I want to do? Then you ask people to come and help you do it. A granting body wants to be sure that you are very clear in your mind the questions you want to answer, the challenge you are trying to address, what is it that you're trying to bring in on the table. And this requires a lot of interrogation, literature search, asking for people in the field, people that have done great work in that regard. You need to be able to constantly answer that question. Is there a need for this research? Is there a need for this project? And then next is to carefully select collaborators or research members, people you want to work with. And let me quickly add here, most granting bodies now are not interested in a solo researcher or a solo practice who wants to do something. So you hear things about multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, or intra. The bottom line is, for any concrete question you want to answer, there are several different specialized group of individuals that can make that work beautiful, that can make that work excellent. You are not likely to be the only reservoir of everything you need to be able to answer a question that is challenging mankind. So let's say the issue of Japa syndrome, and you're trying to look at who are you going to collaborate with. You are looking at different sectors, different expertise that can come on board as a team. These have to be carefully selected. People that will have the like mind, people that will be passionate about their work, and people that have the required expertise. Of course, there's also a place to seek advice from people in the field of interest. And I've enjoyed doing this again and again. And or maybe a group that have won a similar grant. I remember when I was writing for Zova project, after I thought I've written the proposal in my own little mind with the team I have put together. Then I looked, I said, who is it that have won Zova before? And I saw one or two of us in this nation. So I sent the proposal to them with a mail saying, please, can you look at what I have written? What do you think is going to fly here? What else do you think we should do differently? And I got some other group of people that are not even in ophthalmology. I know a lady who's been so interested in working for the poor, you know, the underprivileged. I said, please, can you look at this proposal? It was at that point like a concept note. And they gave wonderful advice. I can remember this agriculturist who said, no, you need to keep using the words of the potential donor body. If they have written in their page that they are interested in girl child or in people that are disadvantaged, or they are interested in, you know, you must be connecting to those words. And so I sat back again with my team and we began to reflect some of those things. So please remember this point, that at the beginning of your writing any grant, you must look for potential collaborators. You must look for people that have expertise in the area you are interested in. You must look for people who have either won grants before or who have won a similar grant from the same granting bodies, so that they can help you to have an improved proposal or concept note. In the course of that same work, I recall one day I said, can I look at the website of Novartis International? Let me see the kind of projects they have supported in time past, because that is who they are, and I'm not going to be able to change them. So I got the list that I'm showing you on this slide of all their past. Then I began to think and have a feeling, connect to their emotions, connect to what is it that drives them. And that helped us a whole lot in trying to finalize in our own proposal to them. So after you've done all of this literature search, you've tried to know the level of knowledge available at this time and all of that. This process, talking to experts, talking to the grown-up donor body, looking at most of the donor bodies, we have a clear statement of their vision and their mission, their interest. In fact, some of them will be nice enough to say, for this circle of grants, these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 titles or areas that we are interested in. So it is in our interest to study those things and then be able to say, can I fit in? Do I have the expertise to meet their yearning? And then you put up your proposal. So get clarity. And then as you're getting clarity, you are developing your novel or distinct idea that hopefully will fly. And many granting bodies will require a concept note or letter of inquiry. And oftentimes they will also have specified guidelines what they want. Last week, like I said, we were having another lecture with the University of Ilorin. They are trying to see all of us who wanted to put proposal to get concept note for TED Fund. And I was so shocked at some of the few things that they said. And I said, oh, maybe that's why the last 2 times I failed for the National Research in TED Fund. That their title should only be 18 words. If it's 19, they just disqualify you. And the words cannot be more than 1,500 for concept note. If it is 1,501, they will not even read it. I was listening and I was like, so I went back and looked at the one I submitted 2 years back. Instead of 1,500, it was 1,507. So and the man said, tiny, not following tiny guidelines. They just collect money for reviewing without having to review your work. So either it's concept note or the actual proposal, it is good to follow the guideline. Read that call for proposal. Read it again and again and again. Immerse yourself in it. Try and understand what they want. Sometimes they will give a caveat. If you are more than this number of age, don't apply. There's no point applying. Or if you are not within this region, they specify maybe a continent or a part of Africa, that's their interest. So if you don't fit in, there's no point going ahead. If you must go ahead when you have seen clearly areas where you are not qualified, you need to write whoever is coordinating that grant and say, oh, I'm 42 years old. In your call for concept note or proposal, you said a candidate cannot be more than 40 years. I want to ask, can I? If they say yes, we can give you a consideration, then you go ahead. Otherwise, there is no point. So the other thing in writing is for you to, if you have a pilot study or a test project, sometimes you put up that specifically because you want to strengthen your position in winning that grant. So you do a pilot study, you want to just show that you know what you're talking about and you have what it takes to carry it out. And so you present that as part of your proposal or as part of your write-ups in your concept note to say, we have actually test run this and this is what we found and we're going to be working, So this may be necessary. So sometimes you plan ahead for a grant. That's what I'm saying. Let's say you want to apply for a granting body, you have known their ideas, what they want to do and all that. Then you want to strengthen yourself. So can I test this? Can I put it up and show them that I can? So What most granting body will be looking out for is, can you demonstrate that you have tested the ground? Do you have what it takes to carry out this assignment? Because money is not cheap. So they're careful in flying out their money to anyone. And we must ensure that we apply within the stipulated time. Oftentimes, like myself, if you are like me, we delay. I remember yesterday morning, I was struggling to quickly submit the concept note to the TED. Was closing by 12 midnight of yesterday night. And 8 a.m. I say, because that's when the internet will not work. That's when the internet will be slow, because several people are actually also trying to do the same thing that you are trying to do. So it's always better to, work ahead of time, and, don't just be coming in at the last minute of that deadline. No, that may not go well. Something can just happen and then you are disqualified. Always remember that, like I was told last week, before you are even submitting your concept note, your full proposal must have been ready. And I say, oh no, I didn't meet up this one again. So it's good to have been so well prepared ahead of time, and then you are not going to be under distress. And remember to always put your supporting document. A concept note or letter of inquiry may just be 2 to 3 pages maximum, maybe 1,500 words. But oftentimes you will have places where they expect you to show pictures. You can show equipment, you can show a demonstration, a flow chart, and all the likes that will support your concept note. So follow guidelines strictly. Clear and succinct and simple words is what flies in most concept notes. Nobody wants to read a concept note that they will have to take a dictionary to understand what you are trying to say. So write it in such a simple term, but of course not leaving anything out for them to be able to follow and be able to assess what you have written. And like I said, we must see that we submit time. Now, for us to be able to develop a novel idea, we have to be up to date in our discipline. That means we are reading, we are attending conferences, we are having networking. That is the things that opens our eyes to know where do we have gaps that you want to fit in. And learning the types of research and research grants that have been received by others in your discipline is also very important. Working with mentors, we cannot over or underemphasize that, because some have done the work you are trying to do, and they will have a body of experience that you don't need to start earning in that experience, and they can guide you and help you. So fundable ideas have to be novel. Try and make it innovative. In fact, for TED Fund, they will ask you for the national application. They say, what is novel? What are you doing new? What is new in what you're trying to do? Because you don't want to waste money doing something that has been done exact way in the past. So they will ask you, some of them will ask you, what is it new? What is new that you are bringing in, And then you must demonstrate that the actions you want to take for the study is achievable, is simple, and is achievable, both technically, culturally, and ethically feasible. Your ideas, either is a project or is a research, you must apply this test to them. And another key thing is we cannot afford to exceed the budget of the funding agency. If they have so stated, this is maximum 50 million. No matter how novel and how innovative and how great your idea is, you have to work within that budget. If you cannot fly, you will cut it, do it in parts. But they cannot say the maximum is 50 million naira, and then you write a concept note and a full proposal, and you're asking for 60 million. You have basically disqualified yourself. And most of the assessors are looking, is it replicable, is it reproducible? And can it be scaled up? Is it scalable? Will it have a wider beneficiary target? Particularly if you're asking for a national funding, a global funding, they want to still look, is it going to be limited to maybe go to my home village? Or is something that can have a wider impact, And then you need to adapt your ideas, your objective to the funding agency. I've said that again, you cannot just overemphasize that. So now, before the proposal or concept note, the study design, it's good to have a team that you
Sorry
can.
for
We didn't
Yeah,
see
stopping
you.
your presentation.
you're not seeing it again. Hello?
I think you mistakenly stop sharing, ma.
I didn't stop. Oh, maybe it's my internet that stopped. Oh. I didn't touch anything there to stop sharing. Let me go back to it.
Okay. Thank you, ma. But we are following, ma. Thank you so much.
Okay. Let me try and reshare. You taught me the other time, entire screen. I'm just trying to be a good student. Uh-oh. So are you seeing the slides again?
Yes, ma.
Okay. Now, if you have the privilege to review some successful proposal, sometimes you may have that privilege. Depending on the donor, the granting bodies, you may be able to look at their structures, the details, the writing style that they may be looking out for. Of course, you are not supposed to adopt everything line by line, but you can adapt some, to be able to find for you to have a positive outcome. Most granting bodies too will try as much as possible to give you a guideline. Like I said, for third fund, if they say literature review, they put a caveat. This is what they are looking out for. References no more than 5 years. So, and then they tell you how many words in each section. Our responsibility is to follow all of those guidelines. And when we're writing our objective, you write the general aim like any other proposal. You write the general aim. Your objective should be short-term objective or short-term outcome and long-term outcomes and your general objective. And of course, we always make sure that they are smart like every other thing that we normally will want to write anytime we are talking about an objective that is smart, is specific, is measurable, is achievable, is relevant, is timely. And then ensure that we evaluate this proposal, this concept note again and again. I've always enjoyed when you finish writing, keep what you have written down for a few days or maybe a week. Even yourself, by the time you go back to carry it and read again, you'll be wondering, what was I doing? Did I actually write this? There will always be things you want to improve upon, things you want to, scale up, things you want, other angles you want to look in, achieve, in addressing the issues. So that's why we need a long time to prepare. And that's why we also need protected time to focus, to be able to think clearly, to be able to have a wider view of like typically Yoruba we say there are so many roads to go to into a single market. So when all of that time is what you will require to be able to find out, okay, can we do it this way? If we do it this way, what's going to be the outcome? It shows forth in our write-up if you have really thought through critically every step of your actions that you intend to write or you intend to carry out. So if you are developing a concept note, it's a summary, no more than 2-3 pages. The maximum concept note I've seen is 5 pages from some other group. But 2-3 pages, that is maximum. They will have a guideline, please follow it. Avoid typical typographical error, avoid very highly technical words that people cannot readily follow through and read. And always ensure that you put your expected outcome, the project objectives, and then a budget. A budget that is reasonable, not under budget or over budgeting. Sometimes some of us, when we are trying to write a proposal, you are thinking, oh, let me write under budget. Maybe that will make me to be picked. No, because once a budget is wrongly made, it just shows if that project or that research will not be done. And remember, oftentimes, the people who will review these proposals or the concept note, they are also either researchers or people that have also, excelled in that area of project, most likely. So they know what you are, they can understand. For instance, if you quote for an equipment, and then they go to search for that equipment and see that, oh, the cost is actually more than 3 times what you have stated, is either of two things. You are not current, you have not done your market survey, or you are not planning to do this proposal, this research, you just wanted to get the money. So budgeting is very key. It should be appropriate budget survey and be very clear that you can justify and defend any budget line item. You must be able to defend it, to say, yes, this is what I want to do. And of course, most budgets should also think about inflationary trend. I had a very nasty experience of one of the projects I received. By the time we wrote that funding request, almost like 3 years ago, and the fund was released, but it did not get to us until 2 years after. And you can remember in Nigeria what has happened within 2 years in terms of even dollar exchange rate. So sometimes there could be those kind of surprises, and I'm going to mention what we should do when we win a grant and then you're executing if there are challenges along the line, or even before you start executing some of the things that we need to do. So title, list of researchers. Most times there will be enough space for the highest qualifications, their emails. Some may ask for their phone numbers, but ensure that is multi, intradisciplinary, all of those things. That is the trend that is going on now. And ensure that the people you are bringing on board are people that have something specific and tangible to provide. For instance, a proposal we are just writing, we thought that a linguistic would be important there. We thought historians would be of benefit. We thought medical ethicists should be involved. We thought there should be sociologists. You look through the proposal and see which area of expertise will I need people to come in, and then you approach them. Ensure that all of that, you can't write a proposal that is not, even if it's strictly ophthalmology, there will be so many other people that can make that work beautiful and acceptable, and you must think about them. So you put your researchers together in line. Look for people who have strength. If you have members that have won grants before, it can be an advantage to your team. People who have successfully won and managed grants, you must have 1 or 2 of those amongst your team. Of course, of these days, they're also looking at 1 or 2 for people you want to mentor, the people that will be like mentees to you. So maybe a resident or a master's student or a PhD student, a lecturer one. Oftentimes, most granting bodies are looking for mentorship. Of course, they're also interested in balancing. Is that gender balance or gender equity, or whichever way you want to look at it? So you don't write a proposal and everybody are males. Or you write a proposal and everybody are females. You need to be able to think and respect some of these social terms that are flying around in putting up your team. A project summary is very important, background and significance. Pilot studies, I've talked about that, or proof of concept, very, very key. Then your design, research designs and methodology. Most of the concept notes or proposal, we also give you a guideline as to the appropriate marks that will be assigned to each segment. So let's say if they say background of the study is 10 marks, methodology and all that is 25 marks, and then maybe which other one is 5 marks. We need to pay attention to those scorings. It's just like an exam. So if I say your concept note or your proposal is going to be scored over 100%, and I've given you breakdown of each segment, what will be the proportion of their marks, I think we should be smart enough to try and place appropriate, attention to those key areas. And of course, don't leave out any segment. If they have said ethical consideration, budget is 5, this one is it. Try and answer every part of those subsections. But I'm saying pay more attention to those that carry so much marks, because at the end, what is going to happen if you've written a concept note, like one of the one I'm very privy to, about 200 people applied, 200 concept notes, and out of all those 200, they are looking out to pick 10 That's the competitive nature that I started with. So they're going to be ascribing marks, and then the total. That's why it's key that you ensure that every part, and like I said, you must follow their title. If they say this number of words, your title must be catchy, must be interesting, must be comprehensive. People should be able to know what you want to do, how you want to do it, and where you are going to do it as much as possible in your title. So it's very, very extremely important. Shouldn't be too short or too long, shouldn't be meaningless. You shouldn't waste words, you know. You should be concise. And make sure that most of your keywords are showing forth in the title as much as possible. I've talked about literature search. Some guideline will give you period of time when, except if it's very necessary, you won't be quoting literatures that are in 1927, you know, for a research that you wanted to do in year 2024. It shows that you are not recent, you are not current. It shows that possibly there are several other works that have been done in that regard and you don't need to do it again. So project summary is usually the last thing to be written, and but it's usually the first thing that will be read by the grant reviewer. So it should be clear, it should be succinct. And there's also what we call executive summary. Executive summary should provide everything that you need to have a clear research questions. What is the gap you want to fill? How do you want to fill it? What innovative approach are you bringing? What is your track record? What is your previous works, your previous research, your previous publications, your previous collaborations? If you have pictures, if you have videos, if you have publication, like I said, put it in there in your proposal. You want to convince your donor granting body that you and your team have what it takes to be able to do that work and to do it well. Of course, we have to show timeliness, Gantt charts, study work outflow, your milestone, and your budget overview. I won't say much about this one. I think most of it I've tried to talk about it on your background and significance. Incorporate pertinent references to key collaborators' work. This is very key, and we should keep it focused. So if you are 5 in a team, find out the references of the works that your team members have done and bring in some of the key and relevant ones. Of course, ensure that if any one of them have won grants before, put the grant and put the amount. You have nothing to lose. You're just saying, I've gotten $2 million before, I spent it very well, I did the work, we've published it here. So if I'm asking you for $1 million, just believe that I will do the same. So you have to be persuasive and you have to be succinct, but we must provide enough detail. Just seeing it that the concept note or proof of concept or letter of inquiry or your full proposal is a chance to sell your idea to the review committee and get a yes. You just want to have a yes. So aims and objective is key. I've made mention about that. Like I said, revise, revise, and revise. Leave it, go back to it, pick it up, share it with several people of like minds. I know some of us will be talking about what about if they steal my idea and all of that. Those are some of the risks that can come with it. But you must have people that you look up to that are like your mentors. You must have people of integrity that you can share your ideas with, and they can help you improve the work that you want to do. I talked about pilot studies, and previous studies is so key. And sometimes you intentionally stage it out. You know, oh, I want to do this project. I want to do, let me give an example. I want to train primary healthcare workers in 48 local governments in Nigeria. First, do a pilot study, maybe in one local government, and you ensure that you see, you learn. And in actual fact, from my own experience, there's so many lessons that you learn from pilot studies. So many valuable lessons. And I'm also realizing that even when you have learned so much from your pilot studies, when you actually begin to execute a project or a research work, you will still be learning new things that you will have to impute into the work that you are doing. Maybe not more for research because you need to follow your research protocol. If there has to be any great departure from what you have written in your protocol, you may be needing to go back to ethical review and go back to the granting body, particularly if it has to do with methodology. But for most projects, as you're running it, you begin to see. So if I share the experience of the 48 local government, 48 healthcare workers, primary healthcare workers were training, We had first done a project, a pilot test, and we trained 24. That was about 4 years, and we began to see some of the issues. We trained, we studied after 6 months, and we found so many things. For instance, by the end of 6 months, more than half of all these primary eye care workers have been so transferred to other places. So we learned that, oh, instead of having 2 primary healthcare workers per each health centers, let's increase to 4. So that the chances that by the end of 6 months or 1 year, all of them will have been transferred will be reduced. And so many other lessons we learned from the pilot experience. So that's why many granting bodies will be interested to see if you have used that. If there are unpublished works that are so key, please be free to share, to present it if it's so related and you think you must talk about it. We've talked about diagram, flow chart, Gantt chart, something that will visually assist your reviewers to be able to understand what you're saying. If you're trying to develop an equipment or an instrument, put a diagram there, and put a picture. Let them just see without much thinking and be able to understand what you are. Your goal is to demonstrate that you have thought out very well your research plan or your project plan. So anticipate questions the reviewer may have and try and answer. And you must convey feasibility. If you are working, you must be able to demonstrate that, yes, we can carry this out. We have thought of all the issues, transportation, this one, accommodation, feeding. Just be sure that you have a detailed enough write-up and the people looking at it say, oh, yes, you have thought through this. A well-written proposal is like you have actually concluded your journey even before the journey starts. That's the way I like to look at it. You must acknowledge potential setbacks and how you hope to overcome them. This is key in your proposal. Don't write a beautiful proposal and you present it as if nothing can ever go wrong. Everything will just be no. Because if you think thoroughly, you will find potential possible challenges or setbacks. And what most granting bodies want to look for is how are you preparing to address those potential setbacks? What plan B or alternative B or C do you have in place if this happens, if this happens, if that happens? For instance, now we're finding out for most granting bodies, if you have a principal investigator who have written the proposal, and there are no demonstrated statement as to who is next to you, who is likely to be able to continue this work in case you become ill-disposed or non-disposed. That can happen. And the granting bodies are like, we just released $50,000 to this person and God forbid the person passed on. There's no any other person second in line who knows everything about the work or anything about the work. Nobody else is willing to take on the work. So you need to write that there, for instance, to say it's a teamwork, even though I'm the principal investigator, this person is next, this person is going to be doing this and that and that. This should be demonstrated in our proposal so that you have an idea that the work is going to be commenced and is going to be successfully completed. Of course, if there are laboratory studies or blood or things that will impact you, will have you, interfacing with human subjects, we must be very detailed about our ethical considerations and considerations in handling human persons, blood tissues or products, or even animal studies. We have to state clearly our ethical considerations so that they know that you are very sure what you're doing. We must include all relevant and important research references. If you can use the EndNote or Mendeley or any of the software to handle your reference, that would be very good. And I think I mentioned the last one. So budget in 1 minute should be realistic. And because the budget really reveals a lot about your capacity, your experience, and your level of expertise in the area. I think if there's any one item in all of your write-up that can reveal who you are and what you are able to do, budget is one of them. So ensure that the amount you are requesting is commensurate to your goals and objective of the project. There are several common mistakes people make. We'll try and just mention some of them. If the write-up of the project does not have a focus, is over-ambitious or unrealistic, it doesn't have any originality or new idea, no preliminary data, insufficient consideration of your statistical needs or analysis, your cost is not realistic. If your writing just lacks, good, there are too many errors, syntax error, grammatical error, typographical error. It just demonstrates that this PI or the team members are not going to be a serious group of people that we can commit our money into their hand. If they can be so this careless, that there are so many dots and T's to cross and do so many mistakes in grammar, then there'll be too many mistakes in their project or in their research. So that's why we must pay attention to some of those things. I was trying to look at, I didn't finish this part. I wanted to look for some of the funding bodies that are related to ophthalmologists. I didn't finish on this. I'll try and do a bit more, because we need to be able to find out where are these funding bodies. I've actually done 1 or 2 steps one time that I didn't think it was very profitable. There were some independent organizations, they say if you pay a token, they will continue to send to you possible granting bodies. And I think I paid for 2 years and it wasn't helping me, because they were not tailored or focused on ophthalmology. So they were sending different call of abstract call for proposals, and I was always struggling to look at which one. No, everything was HIV, malaria, and this one and that one. So I'm hoping that along the line we will have specific groups that they will take up that responsibility. It can be very useful, where once there is an opening, a call for abstract, or a call for concept note, a call for proposal. And some of these regular funding bodies is a yearly call. So once you have an idea about them, you keep your eye on them. Oh, November, October, this is when this group will call for proposal. Oh, these ones are usually in January. These ones are always ones in 2 years. You keep your eye on them. But if you search online too, just put granting bodies in ophthalmology or eye care, there will be several lists, and you begin to look at them and see which dates, when is their opening, when is their closing, and the like. Now, when you are successful in a grant, the first thing is to write to thank the agency, to say thank you very much, and then ask them, so now that I've won this, what is the next step? And you keep that line of communications, so that along the line, if there are issues, you can keep going back to them. And please, when we are successful, we need to manage the grant very meticulously and work according to the grant specification. The little experience I have, most granting bodies, they will ask you for a report, and they will have stated, is at 3 months we want this report, at 6 months we want this report, at 9 months we want this report. Let's try as much as possible to provide those reports. It just gives them the assurance that the work is going on as at expected. One thing I forgot to mention, sometimes you write a proposal, I've had that experience twice, a full proposal, and then the granting body comes back to you and say, oh, we love your proposal, but we don't have enough fund. Can we do a bit of it? Can we do a part of it? If you are open to it, write them and say, yes. I remember I've once written a proposal like that, and they say, oh, we love this proposal, but we don't have the fund for all. Can we just buy you one of the equipment? And I said, yes, and they did. So we keep the line of communication open, and we keep reverting back to them. And if there are problems along the line, we must immediately let them know what the challenges are and what you are doing about it. Write report as at when due, I beg you. If there are major shifts in your proposal and budgeting, please get their concurrence and get their understanding. Now, when proposals are rejected, and I think this happens often, sometimes it can be very discouraging, but don't be discouraged. I'll share one area where I felt discouraged. I've written for TED Fund and the National Research Fund twice, and I didn't get it. So this year, I said, I'm not writing again, Joe. So we went for a lecture, a seminar like this, and then there's a lady who was supposed to speak to us. She won the TED Fund National one last year. And then when she started her words, she said, well, I'm happy I won. And that was my 10th attempt. She said she has written 10 times. And it was on the 10th occasion that she won. So I picked up my encouragement by myself. So we should handle rejection gracefully. We should find out reasons for the rejection if it's possible. Some bodies are kind enough to tell you why. They could say inadequate funding, not in line with our vision, too many technical errors. They could tell you. So you thank them and you try and address or redress some of the issues that they have said. Some funding bodies are not nice in the way they respond back to you when you are rejected. I've never been in love with the way TED Fund respond to you when you don't, when you are not successful. They are not nice. But even when they are not nice, just take their nasty response and still reply them and say, okay, hopefully next time maybe we'll be lucky. You can use the information to improve on future grants. So even if the funding body that have rejected your proposal didn't write, you can request to say, please, I would like to know what was my score, what was wrong with our write-up, and some of them will be nice to let you know, so that you can use those review, those comments to revise and then resubmit for another round of calls, or you resubmit to another funding body, or at least you learn. It's a learning experience. Like I said, writing grant for service, for project, for research, is a continual learning. You just keep learning, and the more we do it, the good thing is the better we get at it. I believe that very strongly. So you look for other funding bodies and you can send the same or you write another. And when you're writing this time around, at least you get a better understanding. Like I said, after last week, I went back to the last two concepts I wrote, and I was beginning to see, okay, with this insight, this is why they didn't even read it at all, So it's good to have feedback. Let's not get discouraged when we get rejected. It's not you that is rejected, it's your idea. It may not just be in line with what they wanted to do, and that's it. Or there are too many people. Next time you'll be successful. So when we have a successful application, please let us execute it. And let's execute faithfully and well. We should not mess it up. A lot of us have been told, disadvantaged in this part of the climb because some people ahead of us who have had grants had not handled it well. Let's ensure that we handle and we implement fully, because grants also beget grants. We've had this experience again and again. You are doing a project, a service, and you're doing it very well with support. Several other people begin to come voluntarily to say, we're seeing the track record, we like to be a part of it, how can we come in, and the like. So when we get a successful grant, please let us execute very well. And let's keep pictures, videos, documentations. I think in this part of the climb, we are not very good at documenting, myself inclusive. We must document, so that anytime they come for monitoring and they come for evaluation or they can always find all their documents. Everything is intact. Let's work more on this, because like I said, grants begets grants. So I think I'm going to stop here. I don't know, so that we can have time for questions and comments. I'd like to hear from us, like I said, because I do not have, I was wondering when they asked me to give the lecture, I wish you get someone that have gotten grant from NIH. I've never even applied to them. People that have really gotten big grants. I thought those ones should come and talk to us. But then the little experience I've had, I've tried to share in a little way. Thank you for the attention, and then we can have questions and comments.
Thank you very, very much, Ma, for the enlightening presentation. You said you'd speak from the heart, and you spoke from the heart. We could all feel it, and we learned a lot. Well, I did. Please, if we have any questions, if you do have any questions, please raise up your hands or comments, because I see a lot of scholars here, researchers. In the next 5 minutes, if we have any questions or comments, you can raise up your hand and you'll be allowed to speak. Well, while we wait, I would call on the NISA coordinator to recognize some of our advisors and teachers that are here. Dr. Chima. Dr.
Can you
Edoga?
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, all right. While we wait for people to ask questions, I want to especially thank Professor Peyi Adeboju for a wonderful lecture. I have a question, but before I do, I would like to recognize her as one of our senior advisors. I also saw Professor Onochi Okoye on the call, so I want to recognize him. Then we also have some senior ophthalmologists in our midst. I saw Professor Caleb Yet. So you are welcome. Can we just hear your voice, sir?
Thanks for recognizing me, and a very big thanks to Feyi also for educating us this evening. I think it was very elucidating lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof. I also saw Professor Maduka Okafor Ferdinand at a time. Please, Prof, if you are still on the call, please, you have the floor to greet the house, Prof.
Thank you for recognizing me. It was a wonderful lecture. And we thank Professor Feyi
Professor
Adeboju for
Okafor.
giving it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ma. So, Ma, the question I have or a comment I want to make is, can you use one of your grants? Because I know that you have many grants that you have attracted. Can you use one of your grants to give us, maybe in the next 3 minutes, the experiences that you got from the process of getting the topic, applying, going through the rigors, implementing the grant, and writing your report? Just, you can pick one of them, maybe the most recent one, just so that, you can use it to give it more practicality. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, I'll be glad to share the most recent that we're still working on. We've not concluded. Was this over project that Novartis International granted us, the 40,000 euro to provide 1,200 cataract surgeries, and then to train primary healthcare workers from 12 primary health centers. So some of the experience, like I said, I've tried to share it along the line. First thing I needed to do was to look at their call for proposal. I'm not sure if they had a concept note, but I read through them and then tried to see some of the things that was catching their fancy, some of the things that was resonating with what they like to do. And like I said, they had stated categorically like 3 or 4, 5 different aspects of ophthalmology they are interested in, from diabetes, retinopathy, to this one and that one, and some things on cataract. So that was very useful. And then they on their website had this list of past projects that they have granted before. So I went and reviewed each of those projects. I read through their abstracts, their presentations. They didn't have their proposal there, but they have their abstract. I read through each of them. That was giving me and my team an understanding of what kind of project are they interested in. And then they had a guideline for proposal, which we followed strictly. They also, like every other one, I said, your budget, this cannot be more than this percentage for personnel, this cannot be more than this for this cannot be more than this for equipment, and we had to follow that very strictly. And then at the end, before submission, like I said, I had the privilege to know 1 or 2 people in this part of the world that have won their project grants, and then I sent the proposal to them, and they made very valuable contributions, to say, can you change this, can you do this, can you add this, and then the issue of pilot test. It wasn't a pilot really. We had a pilot for training of primary health care workers, but we needed to also show, and they had a place where you can post some of your past work. We needed to show them several community outreaches we have done in line with surgery, cataract surgery, using, indigenous sponsorship and all of that, yearly activities, monthly community outreaches, just demonstrating fully that indeed we have the capacity, we have a team, we have the equipment, we have what it takes to be able to deliver what we were hoping to deliver. Now, a major challenge in that was the grant was granted in November 2021. The fund was released in January 2022, and then there was no access to the fund because it was paid through CBN. And that struggle was almost a year and a half. But each time I kept them in the loop, all the challenges we were having. This is what is happening. This is what is happening. Every other 2 weeks, I make sure I was writing them and telling them. And they got to a point and said, Dr. Adepoju, we think you have the patience of a saint. Can you just collect any amount they want to give you? And then let's scale down whatever you think you can do. So that was one very, very difficult moment in grant, but we were there together until when the fund was released. And then we've written the first report at 6 months to them, and we're going to write the one at 9 months and all of that. So the experience to me was the very, very highly valuable input from people that have won the grant. And then the second thing was us trying to understand what they stood for, what was it that they were interested in, and then trying to align. The last one we've currently got was a Senate research grant in the university. And we put a team together. It was something on amniotic membrane graft, corneal ulcers in Nigeria and all that. So one experience that I thought was useful, we're almost missing the deadline. I was always not interested because for many years, the university have not had that kind of Senate research grant, and people were like not so keen. We won't do anything. But one of our lecturers one time told me, say, each time have 2, 3, 4, 5 proposals you are working on. I didn't start early. Maybe this is a lesson. I thank God there are so many young people in the house. I didn't start early. I wasn't really so keen, But when I started, we have a great researcher, and he said, each time you must have 2, 3 proposals at different stages. Some you are executing, some you are just writing. He said, just keep writing and keep looking for where to throw them. He said, you may be surprised, one will just click. Like I said, it's a lot of hard work. Sometimes you write, and you just keep hearing, no. But let's not be discouraged. So we just put that together, and then we sent, until it went through. So sometimes when you are not expecting, because you're already prepared, opportunity comes and then you log into that opportunity. And like I said, last week we were told, he said, even the concept note we are writing, we ought to have finished a whole proposal. And I said, oh, I've not really started. That means I'm supposed to have 2, 3, 4 proposals working on at different levels, so that when a call for concept note is given, I'm actually going to be taking some of those few things from the full proposal. Because between the time of call for concept and the actual proposal submission is usually between 6 weeks and maximum 3 months, which may not be so adequate really to do a very good job. So like I said, it's still learning in progress, and I'm hoping that we all can work together and keep developing ourselves and getting better, at this, because great works really are not things that individual of us can power. You get it? Most of the small researches we're doing are not reaching far. Out of pocket research, sample size will be small. We're not able to do any technical or highly sophisticated thing. If we're going to move away from cross-sectional studies, retrospective review, I'm not saying they are bad. They have their own level of evidence that is useful. But if we're going to move on to higher things, definitely, like in one of the logo I use, we need to be charged. And the charging process is to get grants, to do some of this great work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. I don't see any other hands up. I believe we have all learned a lot. I believe all she said was very clear. Let's be encouraged to seek for grants. Let's improve our expertise and search for grantors or sponsors that are interested in what we can offer. Dr. Azuka wrote in the chat box, she said, it is not you that is being rejected, but the idea, a quote that she loved. I think that should encourage all of us. And I dare add that it may not be the idea that is rejected, but maybe the way we have presented the idea too, just like we learned. Thank you so very much, everyone, for being with us. We apologize for starting late, but I know you will agree with me that it was a worthwhile session. This was streamed live and can be accessed on our YouTube channel, or you can go onto our website, thenissanetwork.org, to access this presentation or lecture and the ones we had previously. Thank you very much, Professor Feyi Adepoju, for facilitating this
Thank
section.
you.
We hope when we call again, you'll be willing to come speak to us again. Thank you very much, everyone. Do have a beautiful night's rest.
Thank you so much, Ma. My network at a
Yes, sir.
point, took me off. So there was something I wanted to say. We have a
Yes, sir.
directorate in NISA Network, Directorate of Finance, Grants and Compliance, and it's headed by Dr. Tongrian. So you had raised up an issue that you needed a more focused system of, notifying people of grant opportunities in ophthalmology. I think the directorates can actually take it up as one of their
Oh,
terms of reference
that
and
would be very nice.
make it available. So, Dr. Tongriang, you are the director of the directorate, so please take notes. And
That would be very great,
we are going
actually.
to be coming to your to you to help us when we begin our NISA network studies, because the lectures we are having now is to build the foundation for the network, because we have a mixture of residents, senior residents, young fellows, and older fellows, and they have different backgrounds. So this grant is actually one of the three pillars of the network. The three pillars are training, research, and grants. So we are so grateful that you could make out time to be with us this 24th day of August 2024, despite your very busy schedule. We are so grateful, Ma, and thank you very much. We look forward to
Thank
continue
you.
to working with you and tapping um, from your depth of
Little
knowledge and
experience.
experience. Yes, Ma.
Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Then for others on the call, still remaining, at least you have heard some more information, that others did not hear. So thank you for staying on, and do have a great evening. Thank you.